We all know that Superman is a superhero who appears in DC Comics' American comic books, right? But who created this Superman? Well, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster made the character, which made a debut in the comic book Action Comics. Superman had then been adapted for radio serials, novels, films, television shows, theater productions, and video games, among other things. Henry Cavill was the most recent big-screen Superman. Most discussions about the Superman movie adaptation begin with a simple question: is it even accurate? It is, because not even a single version of Superman encompasses all of the character's incarnations. However, under the direction of David Goyer, Chris Terrio, and Zack Snyder, Henry Cavill is the portrayal of the world's most iconic superhero in the DCEU. It is because Henry shows the character's various incarnations throughout his 8-decade career. He's played Kal-El/Clark Kent in 3 films now. All of those films have leaned towards a darker interpretation of the character. Let's take a look at some of the ways Cavill's Superman is comic accurate. First of all, the appearance of Cavill's Superman is similar to that of the comics. Henry Cavill fulfills the most basic requirement of the role. He is tall, check. Dark, check. Handsome, check. Isn't that so? He probably does it more than any of his on-screen predecessors. Cavill brought a comic book accurate muscularity to his films that Christopher Reeve and George Reeves simply didn't have. This is most evident in the Man of Steel scene, where we see Kal without his shirt on. There are no pads here, people. Superman in any medium is as clean cut as they come. That's why fans may have been surprised to see Clark Kent with a full beard in Man of Steel. However, this has comic origins. In the golden and silver ages of comics, he oddly and repeatedly wore fake beards, though we see him shaving in the 1986 landmark reboot series Man of Steel. Henry is just so similar to the comic Superman in appearance, and it feels like the character was written for Henry himself. Moving on, the second reason is the leadership nature of Henry's Superman. Kal-El's biological father, Jor-El, made him the keeper of Krypton's legacy, and he proved it by saving the human race when it was needed. Similarly, Jonathan Kent, his adoptive father, wished for him to be responsible and noble. As mentioned in the comics, he proved them both correct. Henry's version of Superman is the most accurate one so far. Moving on to Superman's Kryptonian physiology. His power is iconic, to the point that it enables him to wield unparalleled power compared to that of a literal god. Fans had hoped to see some good Kryptonian level action in a Superman film because the character is capable of incredible feats. Cavill's Superman succeeded where the other Superman films failed. His battles with Fiora in Smallville and Zod in Metropolis display his powers in all their glory. He made the fights appear to be true and accurate, just like the comic one. That's commendable. Superman, the ultimate Boy Scout, is a goody two-shoes who adores his mother. Clark's relationship with Martha Kent is one of the strongest in comic books. Unlike other heroes who have strained relationships with their parents, Clark has a wholesome and enthusiastic relationship with his mother. He isn't afraid to show affection towards his mother. Despite their darker tone, the DCEU films did an excellent job of portraying Superman as a mama's boy. When he sees Zod attacking his mother, he famously loses it and is willing to fight Batman to save his mother from Lex. He may be the Man of Steel, but in the presence of his beloved mother, his heart melts. Just like Superman, every superhero film needs a little emotional essence in it. Superman's relationship with his mother was a good, warm one in the comic book. Critics appreciated how Henry portrayed the comic character so well in terms of his emotional state. The death of Superman in 1992 was one of the most significant events in the modern era of comic books. Superman number 75 was an attempt to breathe new life into the character. He then became a national sensation and a watershed moment in the character's history. Another major event for Superman was his first on-screen appearance with Batman in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, and his following defeat at the hands of the monstrous Doomsday. A battle between the two heroes results in bonding over Martha and a dark, liberal adaptation of the Doomsday Battle. The battle is exactly depicted in the movie as its comic version, and Henry seemed to be in action very similar to the hero in the comic. Henry is a phenomenal actor. The struggle to balance his two identities is an important aspect of Superman's characterization. There's Kal-El, the mighty man-god who serves as Earth's savior, and Clark Kent, a farm boy from Texas who longs for stability and happiness next to the woman he loves. The DCEU does a brilliant job depicting this dichotomy, especially in Man of Steel, as Clark questions his identity and purpose. Clark struggles with his duty towards the planet and his responsibility for those who he cares the most about throughout his journey in the DCEU. Cavill portrays Superman as someone who is always uncomfortable in his skin, and that too in such an excellent way. Moving on to the next, Superman's red trunks have been a recurring feature, a source of contention in Superman's wardrobe. The trunks, an original feature of the costume dating back to his first appearance, became out of date as the superhero style evolved. Batman lost him, but Superman remained as steadfast as ever. That changed with Man of Steel, in which the on-screen Superman wore the classic red trunks for the first time. This coincided with the debut of the DC Comics' New 52 reboot, in which the comic book character also tried it without his underwear on the outside. You might not notice this, but such details matter. The journey of Superman is one of self-discovery. The comic books show that even after years of serving the greater good, he is still naive in many areas of life. It took time for Superman to figure out when to use his powers and when to let the people decide for themselves. In Man of Steel, when Superman killed Zod, he learned an important lesson, that sometimes you have to go against your instincts. Cavill's Superman has learned a lot of lessons since then, and directors are not afraid to make a superhero a perfect being. This is something that comic books have been showing for a long time as well. From the character to the storyline itself, Superman is an exact depiction of its comic version. Superman: Secret Origins depicted Kal-El's childhood years in great detail. The story has been directly adopted by the filmmakers for the film. The film depicts Clark Kent discovering his powers, his struggle to fit in, and his bullying. The film Superman has perfectly adapted the story arc, making Cavill's Superman resemble the comic book character. Superman is reborn after his death in Doomsday and wears a black suit. This suit enables him to absorb solar radiation and heal more quickly. Although Cavill's Superman wears the black suit right away in the Justice League, Snyder's cut is more comic book accurate. From storyline to character representation, the resemblance can certainly not be denied. Henry Cavill and the Superman filmmakers did a great job in portraying the film version of the comic, and we can see that, especially when we see him not being afraid to admit his flaws, because even a god has his low moments, and that's the beautiful thing about him.